This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
We have a great show for you today. We are talking about increasing levels of sense awareness. Have you noticed or experienced that you're experiencing new levels of sensitivity? Are you feeling things more strongly and thinking of someone and they call or email you? Having vivid dreams or deja vu, intuitive hearing. Well, stay tuned and learn why you have heightened sense awareness and why these are abilities and not liabilities.
Well, it's a really important distinction. It's a whole reframing. They're not liabilities. They are attributes. So we want to make sure. And if you want to call in today, call in at Studio A 1-844-390-8255. And be part of the conversation.
Yes. Now, we also have an invitation to go deeper with us and to connect with us beyond the show. You can connect with me beyond the show by going to my website, joan-newcomb.com. You can go there and see my YouTube videos that I put out a couple times a week. You can also learn about my meetups. I do meetups around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma, University Place, and Olympia. I also have a special presentation coming up on the 15th. It is a Purpose and Passion workshop, and that's in Tacoma from 2 to 4 o'clock, and you can find that on my website, joan-newcomb.com. And I'm also holding a webinar. So if you're not local to Tacoma, I do have a webinar coming up on Monday, July 25th, and I will also be talking about how to rediscover your purpose and regain your passion for life. How about you, Janet?
Great tips. You always offer great information, Joan. Let's see. We're offering meetups here, Conscious Conversations with Janet and Consciousness Playground. I host those in my home in the Portland, Oregon area. And if you're local to us, you're more than welcome to come. You can look up the details on my website, janetandbeyond.com, or at meetup.com, Conscious Conversations with Janet. And we do those Tuesday nights, Thursday afternoons. And we have just a marvelous time with getting up close and personal in a small group format and sharing and exploring what it is to be in heart-centered awareness. Just like what we look to offer you, our listeners around the world, we do it up close and personal. So we have a great time there. And
yes.
And both of us do appointments, Skype and phone and sessions, and, you know, I just enjoy people, don't you, Joan?
Yes, and you have a special deal, though. If they sign up for your newsletter, don't they get a discount on a session with you?
Oh, yeah, $25 off that first session. They also get in tips, 10 top tips to enjoying life. And there's more than that available on there because there's more than one way to enjoy life, and just some guidelines that I've found that have been helpful. And mostly for me, it's about reframing how I hold my story, my issues, my patterns, and that's what consciousness technologies have really helped me to do and utilize. I don't think it's about feeling bad anymore. Right? And so I'm looking to reframe how information shows up. And if I took the bad out of it and just let it be information, and that's being neutral to it, change happens. So that's what I look to offer people, is how to reframe things for themselves. So.
Yeah, I do that similar reframing in that when I work with people, I have them shift their viewpoint from being like a body personality, experiencing stuff happening to them, to operating as consciousness. And when you view your life as consciousness, you are consciously the creator of your reality, the creator of your life. Right. And suddenly you navigate life completely differently.
It makes a difference in all our lives. And you can join us on our free conscious call we offer on Thursday. The next one coming up is July 21st at 7:00. And you can contact us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com or go to Joan's website. And that's a way, small group, doesn't matter where you are in the world, just get on that phone call. We take an hour and we just really explore what it is for you in developing your skill set on a more personal level than we do here on the radio. So please think about joining us there. So, and we're going to be in Boeing, right? Talk about Boeing.
Yes. So on Saturday, July the 23rd, we'll be at the annual Boeing Expo. They're doing it's a health and wellness fair. They are at the Kent Commons, which is on 4th Avenue North in Kent, Washington, from 10 o'clock to 4. And so Jan and I will both be having a booth there. Haven't confirmed. I think we are also talking there. And so we'll be talking at our booth and also to a group of people and doing sessions for you. So come and see us in person. We'd love to connect with you.
Oh, so let's go back to being aware, Joan.
I'm happy to be aware. I also want to remind folks I'm happy of being aware. And I want to remind folks to join us on Facebook and on Twitter. You are on Facebook, Joan. No, you're not. You're on Facebook, Janet Barrett. I'm on Facebook, Joan Newcomb. You can also join the group on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Join the group and join the fun. You can follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Joan Newcomb. Anything else out there in the ethers? We're both on LinkedIn. That's not as exciting.
But I do want to thank all those people.
Google Plus. Yeah.
They've been joining, certainly have been contacting me about being part of my LinkedIn network. People from India this last week, actually from all over the world this time. It's been very fun to track and see where people get information. Those Brits, man, they got all kinds of things they do up there. It's been lovely I figure that people are just passing us on and on and on. And that's just such a lovely way to say, share it and, things happen. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate connecting with you. So. There's just so much going on, Joan.
There is a lot going on. There has been an increasing amount going on. Talking about those Brits, all of my favorite astrologers, except for one, all seem to be from Britain. And there's a lovely Cockney, I hope he's East End, astrologer named Steve Judd, and he put out a special broadcast today because he felt like today was an especially intense day. And one thing I forgot to mention that he was talking about is that we're going to have some unusually intense eclipses in September, and he felt that this was like a foreshadowing of that. And I have been noticing that for a month or two now that we are shifting to a whole accelerated level of consciousness. People have been talking about, ascension. I reverse it and think that we're actually coming more into our physical bodies as consciousness, and that's why we're becoming more aware. But there is something, so all of you out there, if you've noticed, stuff happening, it's all just an indicator of the increased awareness and the increased sensitivity that we're all experiencing now.
Yeah, and the one thing about our show, we want all of you to know out there, no matter what time you're listening to this or when you're catching us or, there is no time or space in consciousness. So
just the all.
Just the all. And sometimes that all is very active. And we register that, as you may register that in some way. And it just sometimes can be very participatory. we set up our different ways of experiencing life as ourselves. And sometimes those senses just can get flooded. I don't think you can be flooded. And lots of information. And so sometimes your sense of self is in the shift too. And, we can feel all that. So we don't mean to sound like we are, we're listening. We're looking for our still point. And, we look to be real and present with you. And that's where we are at. And we're looking to be, keep the show going, certainly, but also be aware that on the levels of when you all tune in, we can feel some of that undercurrent. And, it's very interesting. So, and that's part of what our subject's about today, about these new levels of sensitivity.
Right. As we become more conscious, our sensitivity heightens, and things that people would be normally calling, extrasensory perception, psychic abilities, or whatever, really these are attributes of consciousness. And so we're becoming more empathic, more telepathic, we're getting these precognitions of things coming to us, feeling other people's feelings. There's been some really, you and I talk a lot about being empathic, and my little brother's just flown to Taiwan, and I've been tracking him for the last several days. They're having a typhoon in Taiwan. It's really exciting. So, we have more to deal with, but right now we're going to stop for a commercial break, and stay tuned because we'll be talking about increasing levels of sense and awareness in a state of grace when we come back, in a state of gravy when we come back.
Yeah.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we are talking about increasing levels of sense awareness.
In a state of grace.
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah, that's the key.
Not a state of gravy.
It's about re-encoding these skills, these awarenesses into skills and feeling good about it. And there's a lot of hype and information about being intuitive or being able to notice information in some way. And we want to just get rid of that hologram of, and just, what if it was all right? What if it felt good? What if you could use your skills in ways that enhance your life? And that's really what we're about, isn't it, John?
Yes, I think that a lot of us who are naturally sensitive have felt like it was a liability. Mm-hmm. It made it more challenging to be out in crowds. It made it confusing. I know when I was a teenager, and actually for many years, I was very overwhelmed by emotion, and I didn't realize that that it was an indicator. If I was overwhelmed, it's because I was feeling too many people's feelings, not just my own feelings, but I was picking up everybody else's. And it's a little bit like being in an apartment building with too thin walls and not being able to turn down other people's stereos. Mm-hmm. And it's also thinking that everybody else's stereos are yours.
Right, right.
So,
yeah. So what we want to offer people today, our intent is just how to access heart-centered awareness and allow for that quiet and stillness that's there, and using your senses in perhaps new ways of noticing information. And we call it that information because then we're not tied into it being anything. It's just different ways that our senses are tuned and are opening and are interacting with the vibrations and resonances that are around us. It's that unseen world and how to make it user-friendly and how to feel user-friendly with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And realizing that it's an asset, not a liability, and that you can use these abilities to be more compassionate, to navigate your world more skillfully. And we are talking about increasing levels of sense awareness. And Janet, you were going to take us into heart space.
Yeah, let's see what that looks like this time. All right, everyone. So just put down whatever you're doing, wherever you are, the part of you that can put it down. And just notice with us, whatever time and space that is. And we're going to go to heart-centered awareness, because this is the key of being able to reorganize and bring your awareness into play. And those sensitive skills, the sensitivities, we're going to reclassify those. It's not about being too sensitive. It's about being sensitive. So we have to relabel that too. So while we're at it here, let's just breathe. Okay, some people haven't been breathing too deeply. There you go. And just show appreciation for your heart. There we go. And thank it. Be grateful. And then let's just move into the second meaning of heart, which is emotional terrain. And so we just want to look at this neutral. We have emotions. We all do. And they are very powerful tools for us. So let's start to feel good about them. There you go. Don't judge them, see, because that's what happens. So just in your awareness, notice what emotions might be up and running and active. And I'm sure you have more than one at play. But don't judge it. Just notice it in some way. Think of it maybe as a color or as an object or as a sensation. And just notice, not be attached. There we go. And be grateful. They make life interesting, don't they? So this is all about how to feel good about ourselves. It's very important that we understand we can feel good about ourselves and also feel other things. All right, and then let's go into the third meaning of heart, core, essence of all. And that's where you and I are one, where we're all just bits and pieces in the infinite sea of potential. So we are photons of light, we're little photons of little biomass, and we're resonances, vibrations, and information. And they all interact to create patterns. and patterns of how you experience life that you as consciousness have chosen on some level to bring your story to life, to give meaning to consciousness in a human form. So if we take that viewpoint, and we just let everything start to float. Warmth, support, non-judgment. So just notice. There you go. As we invite the all to the quiet, to the stillness that's full of life, because this is the place you can track it. And it all starts to settle down. You can feel it. So there's no rationalizing or reasoning here. This is not an active mind. But this is where thinking comes from within this space. It's a whole different ballgame. All right, Jan, what you noticing?
I am noticing actually a tremendous amount. It's very interesting in this space.
Mm-hmm.
When you are flying in an airplane, you can actually be flying over a hurricane, a thunderstorm, or anything like that, and not be affected by it. You're in this timeless space that is eternal sunshine, and very far removed from all the activity that's going down below. If you were in a boat on the water, you'd have a completely different experience with it. And what I am sensing as you took us into heart space, I am sensing both this expanded awareness, and I'm also heightened aware of the collective reality of people who are underneath the cloud cover. And I'm really surprised about it. I'm aware of like a level of fear. There's a lot of fear going on. And it's, if you believe that reality is real, if you believe that the news is real, if you believe that the world is ending because Britain voted to leave the Union, which may not happen. France did this in 2005. They had a similar vote in Parliament. Their Parliament just ignored it.
Okay.
So here it is. Everyone's like, I'm going to immigrate. What's happening to my passport? The pound is down to $1.30. The Parliament could just ignore it. But there's definitely this emotional roller coaster ride that is going on underneath the cloud cover. And I am noticing from heart space, this weird dichotomy of things being so much more peaceful and things being kind of panicky at the same time. It's very bizarre. Usually when I come into heart space with you, it's like you and I are, floating on a raft with Mai Tais, and it is wonderful. I mean, just you can hear this with your voice, Janet. It's like, it's this wonderful, warm, experience where we're in a pool at a Grand Hotel in Bermuda or something. It's just really, it's more nature oriented actually than that. And so I'm really surprised that I am picking up on, I'm curious about whether I'm picking up on something that is going to happen locationally, here in the Northwest, or whether you know what? I was just talking about my little brother and he's in the middle of a typhoon. Never mind. I know what's going on. What happens if I just bring myself completely into hearts? Okay, yes. So as I'm bringing myself more into heart space with you, I'm actually sensing some concern, like something's either going on. I know something also is going on with China is having flooding. I don't know if he knows people in China or whether it's a relative of his wife's that is somewhere else in Taiwan that is having
I think what you're bringing up is sometimes we want to go do things and fix things and we're not us if we're not doing. And this is about being.
Right.
And in allowing ourselves to just notice what we notice, and what is the intention in is to be okay with what we notice. We start there. And, okay, so there's a lot of story, there was a lot of information that was up and present, and then you had to you brought yourself back, you didn't have to. You had the awareness, just a minute, that's a lot of stuff. Bring it back to your experience. And it all kind of quieted down again. And it's our ability to wait. It's our ability to allow ourselves to notice things and not say, what do I have to do about this? How do I have to fix this? It's about getting more gracious and acknowledging what is there and how different things are. So often we find ourselves going in to fill in the quiet, right? Or to fill in what seems like a dead spot. Or it's our own anxiety about just being with the quiet that steps in. So as we just step back, and there again for me is the sense that just this wonderful sense of being. And if we each could tap into that, then I think all that clamor quiets. We had a group here last night. There were 4 of us, and we were just, okay, we're all very much aware that we are in our worlds, and there's a lot of stuff going on, like you were talking about, that fear and those things, and how to let that be okay. There's nothing wrong with fear. Just tells us that the status quo has changed and something's up. So how to use what we notice is you go back to this place. And then you just kind of allow your awareness to hold it long enough that it starts to pull it apart. It starts to come apart on its own. Often it'll just come apart on its own. Here we go. Yeah, there's a real deepening sense there. How's that dance with your brother feeling now, Joan?
Well, that was very helpful because I started moving back through emotional levels as I was bringing my energy back, and I got in touch with a really young age. I was like 7, and he would be like 2, and I was responsible for taking him to the movie theater or to the playground or whatever. And so it hits that core level of being responsible. And, the man is 52 years old. I think he can go to the playground by himself now, but actually as an adult male, he shouldn't.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, and if we allow ourselves to create the space to just not have to have an answer, and that's very different in how most of us are in the world. People come to us for answers, right? Or solutions, or save my ass, or whatever it is, and we do that with family. That's where we start and learn these responsibility things, especially if you're an older child. So, and we learn responsibility differently when we're a younger child. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that's what carries through, that we all we end up. The other thing will happen is it'll happen to us without them being our relatives, but we'll get triggered on that. We have to take care of people. As an infant, maybe you had to take care of your mom in order to get fed. So those sort of things come up a lot, I think.
Right. Yeah. I think we're very unaware of how we're motivated and what motivates us. And anything that's motivating for me is an outside influence. I want to come from inspired action. So you can feel, I want to take care of something, but when you sit with it long, in any state, you might become aware that that's coming from another motivation. So It may feel inspired, but it's maybe not. So, and just allowing for levels and layers of information, that's a skill also, is that we use in our terminology, well, that's shallow, or that's not very deep, or whatever the language might be, when really there may be, lots of layers going on and lots of things at the same time. We're holding for different realities of information. So you may get information in a visual sense, or in what you hear or notice in some way. And we're operating all the time in ways that we can't necessarily be aware of, because it'd be very distracting to be aware of. So just being open to that, you can notice information in different ways, and you don't have to be so consciously aware of it, and you're okay. Then you can start to pay attention when you have a feeling, or when you have an itch, or when something catches your eye. It's just embracing being human. Consciousness is a human interaction, and enjoying life.
Yes. I'll touch with that, enjoying it, because I keep going back to some people. I'm picking up that some people who this is brand new for. Mm-hmm. They are not used to identifying themselves as sensitive, and these experiences are breaking through, and they don't have a language to describe it. How do you enjoy this sensitivity? How do you, it doesn't feel pleasant at first, because it's kind of like the neighbors are turning the music up. Well, it gives you, it gives you a chance to step back from the drama and notice that the music's going on next door. I had an experience the other day when I got on a ferry boat. I was going to Vashon Island, and somebody pulled up behind with their music blaring. I'm not a big fan of the music that they were blaring, but it gives you a more expanded, you know what? This signifies summertime. Summertime is when people have their windows rolled down when they're driving, and they are sharing their love of music with the rest of the area. Yeah. And, on a ferry boat, you're stuck there for 15 minutes, half hour, or whatever. You can't, the light doesn't change and move on kind of thing. So, when you're experiencing this as consciousness, you can have a much more expanded viewpoint of it, and all sensation becomes enjoyable.
Well, it's interesting, because that's a perfect example of, I have had crows, a murder of crows, like 8 or 9 crows move into our backyard in the last 2 weeks. And we've always had crows in the front yard and around, but these guys have seemed to have done away with all my songbirds and everybody. So, and they're very loud with their cawing, and it's cawing, and, it's very loud, and you get all of them cawing. It's loud. And it's how to hear other things when that sound is out is very interesting. So it's, my first response might be to, oh my gosh, that's a little annoying. The other part of it is, well, it allows me to tune into what else I can notice. And that shuts off one thing, because that takes that attention, but it allows me to notice in other ways if I use it as an opportunity. And that's another thing that's important, is allowing for another opportunity for something new to be present, which is what you're describing.
It's interesting. My husband is kind of a Saint Francis, and he loves animals of all kinds, and he has been feeding the crows out on our back deck. Anyway, sometimes it feels like, we're in an episode of The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. But I didn't realize before, until I saw it through his eyes, he actually identifies these characters. He goes, well, that's the mother and these are the children. It's like, well, to me, they're all black. They're all the same size. I mean, how can you I can tell. And I started noticing, it's like, yeah, you can kind of tell the ones that are babies. Unlike many other birds where they're fluffier or whatever, these guys just are stupider. No, actually, they're just, they're kind of like, and they show up wanting to be fed. And there's a different vibe about them. And so it starts to become comical that you've got these guys. And there's like a family of 3 that notice that we're the fast food joint. They'll come out for his peanuts or whatever he's putting out there. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with squirrels. We've got squirrel families visiting us, and I'm sure the neighbors are just thrilled that we are feeding squirrels and crows in our backyard.
Yeah.
That they're doing so hard to get rid of. And so it becomes an extension of awareness that, this planet to me is a playground. It is an adventure in density and effort. And, all of the creatures are the greater extension of a creation that we have here. And so viewing it from a bigger perspective of consciousness and being in heart space with it, you can enjoy it. You can see the pleasure in it.
It is just information. And how do you experience it? Do you feel it? Do you hear it? Do you smell it? Do you see it? Do you just know it? There's probably other clairsentience there that you can pay attention to. It's the unseen we're talking about, which is just as real in this reality. It doesn't make a difference. We get so tied into what we see, and make assumptions based on that. And that's all they are, is assumptions. And so as you just keep developing a sense of trust and how important that is. And for a lot of us who are maybe new to this work or new to noticing information in different ways, what if it was okay to question? And just notice how important value you put on that. I had someone last week who she really wanted change in her life, and she's 90 years old, and she was dealing with issues all her life. And she's like, well, that's not logical to me. And I finally had to tell her, well, your logic is kind of skewed. It's based on your perceptions. And your perceptions tell you this when everybody else is telling you that. So what if your logic is skewed? And I finally got into her in a way for her to go, oh, okay, maybe I need to be different. So having doubt, there's nothing wrong with having doubt. It gives you a chance to check and recheck. But if you're doing more than that, that's the habituated thought to always question right or wrong, then you're stuck in the questioning mode. You're not in, oh, okay, I answered my question, now let's go on. It's pretty quiet out there.
Yeah. Something else I just heard in that, it's not just the question, but it's the judgment.
Yeah.
And so I hear that she was judging.
Mm-hmm.
Not just doubting, but
right.
but judging as well.
Right. But she was hiding that in her logic.
Yeah.
That's what she was falling back on. And so, okay, it's got to be logical, and it's got nothing to do with logic. It's got to being open to having a new experience. And she's craving a new experience, but she's got it set up that she can't acknowledge it because she's going to question it.
That's so hilarious. If you think about that now, it's like living to be 90 and to be with what we are experiencing in the world today in the shift, there is no logic. In fact, folks, if you are experiencing things that don't seem logical, high five, because that is what is happening. It really truly is. Yeah. We're shifting into, we're going down the rabbit hole through the looking glass, into the matrix, and there's Neo kind of thing. I notice when I am operating as consciousness, there will be a slight shift in the reality in that I will suddenly feel like I'm on a movie set or I'm in the Truman Show. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't lessen the enjoyment of the sun on my face or the wind in my hair kind of thing. It doesn't lessen my enjoyment or appreciation, but it gives me an awareness that I am consciousness creating this. And I do have choice. You talked about choices earlier. There's the choice of how to experience it, and also there's the choice to shift into a parallel universe where there's a different outcome. So I've been doing that a lot lately because it gets away from the old, the old, you create your reality, so then you start trying to change, fix, or manipulate the reality. And I'm playing with the shifting into parallel universes reality where I'm experiencing a different experience because I have shifted myself into that experience.
Well, if you use the parallel reference, then having these skills, having these awarenesses develop into skills is you shifting into different realities, parallel universes. And if you've got one where, you're the deja vu queen, and you've got one where you can see things and you can hear things. I mean, I think we're in all these alternate parallel realities all at the same time. And what's happened is people have closed down that awareness. So depending upon how you've got it structured, just start to let go, or have a sense that it's not even about letting go. It's just about allowing. Allowing is the most important word, I think. If you allow yourself to engage in a sense of play, and this is how adults access play and utilize play, is in being creative, and that there are no rules, and it's just what you come up with. And taking that awareness as a child, bringing it into your present adult experience, what happens? Oh, well, I heard something. Okay. Great. It's just encoded information. All this is about making tangible some way to notice something. And what do you want to do with that? And so there isn't any right, there isn't any wrong, there isn't any ugly, there isn't any bad, there isn't any good. We just take that conversation apart. Doesn't even have a place here. We're not playing by those rules. We're playing by the rule that, oh, I can feel my toe. And what is that? What comes to mind when I feel my toe? Oh, I'm thinking about Laura. Oh, okay. And there you go. Yeah, we need to get into our
we're
to our time.
I feel my toe, and I'm aware of time and space. And I want to really quick let folks know that you can stay in heart space after this show. You can drive and operate heavy machinery with this, but just notice what is different, that Janet has brought us into a heightened awareness of this and enjoy life. I want to let folks know that we have a very special guest next week. It is Victoria Entwistle. We actually were on her show last week, and so she is she's an educator and author, community development channel, vortex Reiki healer, intuitive, spiritual, and Christian multidimensional explorer. And she is the radio show host of Paradigm Shifters. So we're looking forward to talking to her on the show next week. And I also want to let folks know really quick that we both have websites. I'm joan-newcomb.com. Janet is janetandbeyond.com. We both do meetups. I have a meetup tonight in University Place if you happen to be there, or want to come. And, join us on Facebook, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Anything else?
There's just so much going on. Oh, and she's great. She's a lot like us. We got all this very similar references, so we'll have a great time with her. Right. So everybody just notice. Don't judge it. Just go, well, if that was real, what would that be like? And start to play in the sea of potential. And take you interesting places. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's all about interesting places. Wow, it just feels like a breath.
Yes, it does. It feels like a breath of and also just a quick correction that our guest next week is Veronica Entwistle. That's why I couldn't find her on Google here. She's Veronica Entwistle is our guest next week. And in our last minute or so, we also want to remind folks that we have a conference call coming up next Thursday, July the 21st at 7 p.m. If you want to get up close and personal with us, you can, find us on my website, joan-newcomb.com, to join that conference call. And you can also meet us at the Boeing Expo on Saturday, July 23rd. So there's lots of ways to connect with us.
Boy, time is flying, isn't it?
It is flying and slowing down at the same time. That is the bizarre thing that's going on with reality here.
It's all over the place.
We're also on YouTube. We want to remind folks that we have our show. We're putting our archived shows on YouTube, so you can listen to us on YouTube, and you can also find me on YouTube as well. I think I've gotten that all out.
And you did it really well, sweetie. I'm very proud of you.
Caffeine helps. Caffeine helps. So we want to thank you all for being here. It doesn't matter whether you're listening to the show in real time or listening to the archived show later. You have actually helped co-create the show today. There is no time or space as consciousness. And so all of our energies are here creating the show together. Just want to let you know that you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett, and it has been delightful to be with all of you again. So yes. Join us the next time, please.
Same time, same channels.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.